Good evening to those bored enough to watch. When The Last of Us Remake was initially announced, a lot of discussion that I personally recall happening is that of whether the game needed one, considering how the game had gotten a remaster alongside the release of the PS4 in 2014, which was much cheaper and still a brilliant experience to play through. The Last of Us needs no introduction, a brilliant game that was mechanically engaging to play through while also telling an amazing story set in a post-apocalyptic America about an unlikely duo developing a father-daughter relationship throughout their journey, ultimately culminating into a choice between whether to sacrifice the world or the girl he had grown so fond of. In 2022, a remake for the game was announced and subsequently released that same year, in which many had grown to ask the question, despite how good this remake was, did we really need it? The answer to that is indecisive. Some may agree and argue that it was, considering how though the PS3 was a powerful console, we've leaped ahead generationally since then. However, others may argue that the PS3 and its subsequent remaster was still amazing, both visually and mechanically, and continues to do so to this day. I personally haven't played the remake, I hope you can guess why, though I have played the remaster, in which I bought at a time where the remake had just released. I had an option on whether I wanted to buy the remake or the remaster, and I chose the latter at the time. My reasoning being that the remaster was the much cheaper option for what seemed to be the same game at the time based on what I had seen from the remake. I don't want to use this video to talk bad about the remake. Not only do I not think that, but I also don't want to talk negatively about a game that I haven't played. But this situation led me to wonder, when does a game need a remake? In this video, I hope to answer that, and I hope that you can join me as I do so. So, with that said, let's discuss when a game needs a remake. In a video about remakes that I had previously made, I discussed many advantages and disadvantages of a remake for a game as well as its significance, in which in this one I intend to discuss what it is that could warrant one, and when it is truly that a game would need a remake. In my opinion, remakes should set out to achieve a multitude of things. One of them is modernizing a game to introduce new audiences while also recapturing the older ones, in which one franchise that I feel did this perfectly was that of the Yakuza games. The PS2 versions of Yakuza 1 and Yakuza 2 played drastically different to Yakuza 3 and onward, in which Yakuza Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2 recontextualized that experience to not only capture the original PS2 versions of the game, but also introduce new audience such as myself to the games. I haven't played the PS2 versions of the game, and that's due to another thing I believe should warrant a game's remake. At times, games won't be released as ports to other consoles or will be forever stuck on their current hardware, and the original Yakuza 1 and 2 are examples of this. While true that they did get ports to the Wii U and the PS3, my point is that it's extremely unpractical for both the company and the consumer to buy the console if they don't have it, buy an adapter for the cables if they own a modern TV, since HDMI wasn't a thing during the time of the PS2, as well as the game itself. The original Yakuza 1 and Yakuza 2 aren't that expensive from resellers, in which that is a good thing, but the consoles tend to be. This would warrant a remake that is practical for both the consumer and the developers, as their games aren't stuck on older hardware, and they also get to introduce and give a second chance to previously introduced franchises within gaming. I personally can't play the original Yakuza 1 and 2, which is why I'm grateful for their respective remakes, as they are ones that I really do like. Would I be opposed to trying the original counterparts? No, I wouldn't, but they aren't exactly easy to get your hands on. Another time I believe a game should warrant a remake is when time slowly begins to be unkind to a game. This topic is very subjective, as the answer to when that time is tends to be very different depending on who you ask. Additionally, there are a multitude of ways that time can slowly break a game, whether it be mechanically or through age. For example, the Sonic Adventure games, despite their obvious visual age, still play really nicely. Some areas are better in that regard than others, but regardless, they still play really nicely. On the other hand, the limitations of the 1990s and early 2000s are beginning to show in these games, but does that warrant a remake? In some areas, yes, and in others, no. But the answer for you may vary depending on where you prioritize a game's aspects. Another example of a game being forever stuck on older hardware is that of Super Mario RPG, which recently received a remake which I haven't played, because it's a game that, like many Nintendo games, I can't afford. Though I do think that this is an example worth bringing up because Super Mario RPG was a game that initially released in 1996 for the Super Nintendo, in which many people of today's generation couldn't hope to get their hands on, let alone getting to play the game. One of the many reasons I've always felt as though The Last of Us' remake is unnecessary is due to the fact that one of the many reasons it was made was so that the visual gaps between the first and second game would be closed. I've never really been one to talk about how a game looks, but in my opinion, I think that both the first game and the second looked amazing. I'm not denying that this game was remade for other reasons, but was the visual difference between these games so massive to the extent where a remake was in order? I personally don't think so. Yakuza 0, Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2 look drastically different not only between each other when looking at Yakuza Yakuza Kiwami 1 and Yakuza Kiwami 2, but all these games look drastically different to Yakuza 3 and 4. Did that stop anyone from enjoying them all? No, in my opinion, it didn't. Why would that be any different to The Last of Us? The question of whether a game needs a remake is one with many answers, and in this video, I hope that some answers were found within my ramblings. But whether a game has aged through the years, the experiences they hold is timeless. Remakes enhance them, not only visually and mechanically, but they also allow new audiences to be introduced to a new franchise, new generations to love a series, and new memories to be made with them. So, there's the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. This has been a video I've been wanting to make for a while now, so I hope you all enjoyed it. I've also been working on analysis videos. I obviously just want to upload these in hopes that any gaps in uploads are closed between the big videos. If you want to view the list of games I want to make videos about, then you can always do so through the link in the description. Additionally, if you want to follow me, then my socials will be linked in the description, as well as any afterthoughts or messages I may want to add. With that, I haven't really got much else I want to say, so I'll see you all in my next video. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.